Welcome to the Dental Brief, the world's direct, right-to-the-point podcast produced to get you the information you need to learn and grow your practice. To learn more about our guests and find links to information discussed on our show, visit our website, dentalbrief.com. On to today's episode.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Brief. Today we have with us Dr. Anamelechi. Did I say that correctly, Doctor?
You got it right.
Great. It's definitely not as hard as it looks. You are a pediatric dentist. You own and operate a couple of practices in the Washington, D.C., Maryland area. I'm going to let you kind of just tell our audience how you became a dentist, how you got into dentistry, and how you got to where you're at today.
Oh man, so I'm one of those people who's wanted to be a dentist since they were in elementary school. I was literally pulling teeth in the playground for money. So entrepreneur and dentistry were in my calling. And interestingly, I have no family members who are dentists. So it was by a great mentor and an awesome pediatric dentist that kind of pushed me through the way. So, I went to Chapel Hill for dental school and Duke for undergrad and had a fabulous time and really stepped into the DC area by love and have planted ourselves at home here where we run one of our offices is actually in the neighborhood I live in, which is quite interesting. That's awesome. And the other is just outside of about 15 minutes away.
So I have to ask you, back to elementary school and pulling teeth for money, what was the going rate for an abstraction back then?
25 cents.
So that's where the PPO pricing model started, I'm assuming, was about then.
Absolutely right. And I wasn't including materials and supplies, so I was probably losing money on it.
Yeah. Now, did you get paid cash up front, or was it some type of, when I pulled a tooth for my older sister when I was little, I was a cut of the, as a commission base, I got part of the tooth fairy money.
Well, funny you say that. I would ask for a part of the tooth fairy money, but I usually never got that. And I got paid very similar to a PPO model because I got paid after the tooth fairy came.
And 90 to 120 days after, and you had to write 3-4 letters too. So now that we know you started that model, I want to talk on the show today. I know you want to talk about culture. You want to talk about practices and cultures. You're in DC. There's a lot going on there. I mean, you're very obviously active in the dental community. You love dentistry, love being a dentist. It's wonderful to hear. So talk to me about culture. What is it? What are issues and problems that you're seeing out there? And what are, once we know what these issues are, we can start talking about the cures for them.
Yeah, of course. The reason why I was thinking about purposeful culture is really because I've had my practice for 7 years, and I didn't think at all about this in dental school, and I didn't think at all about culture when I took a little bit about it when I was opening my practice. But as we transitioned through team members, and especially as we're transitioning through the pandemic, purposeful culture is something that is absolutely needed. It just doesn't happen on its own, which is where I thought. You bring a team in, you buy a few Starbucks every other day and buy some lunches, and you go out and have a happy hour, and there's your culture.
Right.
That's not.
Right. So all cultures, every practice has a culture, whether they know that or not, right? Whether they're in charge of it or not, there's one exists. So creating a purposeful culture, I'm assuming, is the process, and I'll let you elaborate as is the process of getting to where you want to go, to having the culture that you want to have. Is that a fair definition?
Absolutely.
So what are the steps to doing this? And let me kind of interject here a little more. Practices are struggling culture-wise across the country. Team building is at all-time low, turnover is at all-time highs. And I mean, this wasn't good before COVID. It's certainly worse after. I know a lot of people are blaming unemployment checks on issues. I don't believe that myself. I'm a believer that 99.9% of people want to work. They want to work in a healthy environment and a good environment, of course. So I don't buy the stimulus checks. Where do you start? Where do you start to make this better? Where do you start to build that team? And then how do you keep the team?
Well, interestingly, where I thought it started kind of with onboarding, it really starts before that. So it starts with the ad or the ask out for looking for team members.
Yep.
And, so that first establishing your mission and your vision, knowing who you are, being willing to fight for who you are, which means that you don't really, when you start accepting exceptions, that's when the culture, I see holes happening in my own team culture. And so starting from that ad of, we need a team member. And you've seen the boring ads, like, hey, we're looking for a hygienist. It's going to be this range. It's going to be, no, we're looking for this person, this personality. Are you the one? Like literally, just, are you the one? And once they get in, because I've been noticing, even with us, we had some turnover as we came back from the pandemic. We didn't have 90 days to get this person in the right culture seat. So then we had to find a culture ambassador. Who's the culture ambassador in the practice? Hopefully it's someone that's, been there. They know who you are, who I am as a provider. They're ready, willing, and able. They wear our office on them all around, and they wear all of the mission and the vision and all the things that we want to make sure our practice exudes beyond just doing a great prep. No one knows if we did a good filling. I mean, adult might know, but a kid is not going to give me a high five on the great filling. They're going to give me a high five on the way they felt when they walked out of practice.
Right.
And so having that ambassador from the door, making sure that everyone understands what the vision, what the mission is, and then continues to kind of repeat, so that it becomes not about it's about the people, but it's almost like a systemized way of culturizing the people that come into your practice.
So with this ambassador position that you're speaking about, obviously they have other duties. They're not the full-time ambassador. Do you think it should be practice owner? Should it be the dentist, or no? Is it better to have someone else?
It's interesting you say that, because I used to think that it had to be the owner. And I would say it's been very recent, maybe in the past year, as I've been going back and forth through the pandemic, it does not have to be the owner, but the owner has to exude those principles, which is interesting, right? Because I see a lot of times within practices, we want things this way, but we won't show up for the morning huddle. Well, then that doesn't really help. That's not really showing that you want it that way, because you're not willing to actually practice in the way that you want.
Right. Or that the huddle is important. If you're not showing up, it's not important.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
I thought I had to be the one and do it and see it and be in the trenches. And yes, I do. They want to see that you're willing to put in the work too, but I don't have to always be the one doing the onboarding for the culture of our practice, et cetera.
So let's continue on building the practice, or building the culture in the practice. What's something that a practice owner can do today? Like, what are some steps? What should they read? What should they look at? What should they follow? They're just lost in this. And I think a lot are. I've been lost in it at times in my professional career too. So, if we can't admit our weaknesses, we definitely can't lead. So what are some things they can do today? What are some steps to start getting on the right track and getting purpose, in the culture?
Well, it's maybe just that, making sure, maybe dusting off their mission and vision and wearing it wherever you are. So like in one of my practices, walking down the hall, like the team should know what it is. It shouldn't be something that we just discuss once a year or in evaluation time, but it should be in a place where our families know, our teams know what's going on and where we want to be. And so making sure that that's known and making sure you still agree with it, because it changes over time, maybe, of what you want. Sure. And then also identifying who that person's going to be that you're going to put through the first, in our office now, it's called Culture Boot Camp. Who's going to be, if you don't already have someone that has it 100%, who's the 75%er right now that you can get to be that ambassador? And so, and then what your non-negotiables are, because in our office, you will wear the hat. You will wear a pizza hat. Non-negotiable. And we test them on it when they come in for a working interview. We're like, okay, today's hat day, and we pass out the hats and we see, is there, I don't want to mess up my hair today, or I don't wear hats. We see it and we're like, oh, this isn't gonna work because we wear hats here. So you just those, and then desperate is a strong word. We're desperate for employees right now. And so we might just take anyone. And oh my goodness, I've learned that taking anyone could kill it, and you'd spend 2 or 3 years trying to get it back.
That's right. And here's one of the reasons why, and you probably know this, but when you make a poor hiring decision, you'll stick by that decision way too long because you don't want to admit you made a mistake in a poor hiring decision. And you just keep hoping they will work out over and over and over and over again. Meanwhile, you have this, toxic center in your culture now, right? You have this person who others probably know was a bad hiring decision too. And it can go down fast. You can lose your best employees by making a poor hiring decision. And now your best employee is your poor hiring decision. So exactly. With you 100%. Would you share your mission and vision statement? Would you be okay sharing that with our audience?
Absolutely.
If you're not, it's okay. I know it's very personal.
No. So our vision is our mission and our core values are: we sweat the small stuff, we hire the best and the brightest, we pursue excellence, and we are the Disney of pediatric dentistry. And so when team members, when they walk down the hall and they see, they're like, "Ooh, okay, what does that mean?" And we do have to define it, because we've seen at times where I'm like, yeah, I know we sweat the small stuff. One of that means to me, every kid gets a balloon. And, today, balloons aren't blown. And I'm like, oops, somebody missed it. Somebody missed the core value boot camp because every kid's not walking down the hall with a balloon. So, and so when we look at that broader vision, then those core values expand to, we want to be a research hub nationally and internationally for pediatric dentistry. We want to promote, like today, you might see, and my audience won't see, but I have a Rolling Stone shirt on with the tongue out and the leopard print tongue out. And we just launched a new specialty clinic called Thrive. And it's a branch off for us to be able to serve more and serve harder. And those are our kids that may fall into sleep apnea and things of that sort. And so for us, we want to be at the peak. We want to be one of the forerunners in pediatric dentistry. And so when you're coming here, I'm like, okay, what's your next step? Because I don't want you to be in the same position you are in my office in 2 years. You have to move. You have to move up. Sometimes you have to move out. And that means I'm doing my job as a leader if that's happening.
That's right. Yeah. Then you know what? I think that's a good thing. If you have people in your practice, in your business that want to move up and out, right? Moving up means moving up. Support them in that. Right now, they get to leave on terms that work for both of you. When you know it, they can help hire replacements. You can support them and be a great leader in your community. I think that's a really good thing. Doctor, anything else you want to leave our audience with before we end today?
I think that this purposeful culture is, again, it's not easy, but it's doable. So in the things that we were talking about, find someone make sure you clarified your vision. Because I see a lot of times we have very, very general view of dentistry in our practice, but be specific, because being specific is going to help you define who you are, again, as a provider, and who your practice is going to be and what they're going to be known for. So all those things, that's keeping them in mind, it can be done. And again, no desperate hires. Take the time and put it in.
I want to tell our audience to check out your practice site, because it's a really great site. It's definitely worth any dentist, especially pediatric dentist, taking a look at. It's mychildrenschoicedental.com. mychildrenschoicedental.com. Dr. Anamelechi, thank you so much for coming out today. We really appreciate your time.
I do too. Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. Did you know you can weigh in on today's topic on Facebook? Search The Dental Brief on Facebook or visit our website, dentalbrief.com, and just follow the link. We look forward to having you join us again on another episode of The Dental Brief.